Hello, Palantir just released their fourth quarter 2021 and full year 2021 earnings call. The results were solid. To me, they were incredible. But what has happened to the stock? The stock literally fell 21% in 2 days following this earnings release. Now, why is that? And what on earth is going on with the stock compared to the business of Palantir? If we look at the full year 2021, the high was recorded back in January of $45. Now we are right back at almost DPO level. Where does Alex Karp see Palantir moving in the near future? And when are we likely going to the moon?
We've agreed that this is something like the Phoenix rises. The other thing that's kind of anti-gravitational about this, that, if you're smart enough to invest in Palantir, is because this is just fucking cool. It's like, you do this, you change the world. I see myself as a retail investor and I have all my assets in Palantir. So I'm very happy, and your software's going to fucking work.
Stay tuned for a highlights edition of the earnings call without all the fluff. And what do I mean by fluff?
But then I think
keep it simple.
Palantir Technologies is out with quarterly results this morning. The software platform company reported adjusted quarterly profit of 2 cents per share. That compares to a consensus estimate of 4 cents. So you're going to be seeing that stock already off about 3% this morning. Revenue did beat Wall Street forecasts. We're going to keep our eye on it. As we're speaking, literally, it's now off 5% off of this miss. So we're going to...
Well, hang on a minute. The results were actually, in my view, absolutely awesome. So what is all this FUD being spread around on media? If we take a look at the results, earnings revenue growth in the fourth quarter of 34% year over year. That is pretty solid. In the full year, they achieved 41%. Even their government revenue growth amounted to 47%. The biggest worry for a lot of investors were that Palantir are very much government oriented. Then you realize that they are really expanding the boat on their commercial revenue growth. Alex Karp makes a huge deal of this in the earnings call, which we will highlight. Just like a painter painting his masterpiece, in my opinion, Alex Karp is doing just this for Palantir. And the fact that he has come out to hold this earnings call at the start of 2022 signals to me that this year will be the turnaround year for Palantir, moving straight back up, considering that we are now pretty much at the stock price value of their DPO. Means there's not much more room to fall. If it does, then oh me, oh my. Okay, Dr. Karp, hit it.
Welcome to our earnings call from Denver. It's my maiden voyage. When Palantir began, people believed that data was worthless, that software was a luxury item, and that we would fail. From a world where software was something that you might want, might be in your car, but de facto would not determine your business, to a world where really the laws of finance are going to be rewritten to deal with a world where the only real moat is software. Clearly, this industry is in its infancy. In every way looks non-standard, run by people that are very different, look different, feel different, talk differently, and with a CEO that many view as batshit crazy.
Well, that was actually quite a watered down version of Alex Karp giving an introduction to Palantir. And what I mean by watered down is it's way less philosophical. Maybe so that more people can actually understand what the fuck he is talking about.
I'm not like a caged animal in the 1950s zoo, but as I've mentioned to them, if you want caged animals in the 1950s zoo, you can watch any other earnings update. We were very early into whatever you want to call data exploration, building things that would now be understood as useful software for building analytic tools. Some of them were and are very, very important for national security and other areas. What you see here is cohort analysis. And what you see is from inception of Foundry, the decline of older software products and just the massive exponential growth. Obviously, it's rough math, it's 100% growth year on year. Small numbers can grow quickly even if the software is not strong. Big numbers don't grow quickly if the software doesn't exist. And what you see here, obviously the CAGR here is just unbelievable and in the 150 plus range. I wanted to drop the F-bomb here. We've agreed that this is something like the phoenix rises.
Now that is a strong metaphor for Palantir, which is basically saying that they are emerging from catastrophe stronger, smarter, and more powerful.
The other thing that's kind of anti-gravitational about this, that a software company, software usually decays for lots of reasons. Really, as far as I know, we are the only software company in the world building transformational software this far in. And most software companies have distribution, or they have a product, but they don't have distribution, product, and ability to build new products, which is not a critique. These are great companies. They acquire companies. There are not that many companies to acquire, which is why even relatively weak companies get acquired at a very high price. USG, you have a very similar phenomenon where you see the inception of Foundry into the USG. One of the qualitative things that you kind of can get a sense of is the newer Foundry version not only grows dramatically. This is like 65% growth, more precisely, but it's like over 200% CAGR here, which is also like Phoenix rises.
Now what I love about Palantir is they fully respect their retail investors as well as their institutional ones. So in this questions and answers, they had some questions from various retail investors.
I think we should head into questions. That we don't.
Okay, no more fluff.
They built dual use products in government, and there was a handoff to commercial, and so that's going very well. What I would call actually organically, what I guess you guys call net dollar retention, very, very strong. Like in the 150 range. So obviously that means we think we can get lift from hiring salespeople. We're doing that aggressively. I think we have about 150 salespeople now. We believe we live and die based on our ability to build products of tomorrow, deliver today. There is no other product on the market that can actually move from, data warehouse, which is like, there's like 5 companies. They all offer the same thing. Foundry interacts with all of them. When you want to move up to the chain to actually solving a real problem because defines your business, Foundry's highly differentiated.
Now here is the coming hint, layering. This is basically essentially what I believe that Palantir are going to be making smaller packages of Foundry, such as Foundry Lite, for smaller companies and businesses.
We will layer that. I think it's way too early to know exactly the impact. Obviously, to the extent we get this to work, you could expect even higher growth than what we have, although I'm very happy with it. Was like we've doubled USG, US commercial now, from 50 to 100, 100, 200. I believe we will double it again this year.
Holy smoke. If they double up again, where do you think the stock is going to go?
Europe has been slow for us last year, which is one of the reasons why, we are only at 41%. There, we're taking the opportunity, believing there'll be a handoff from USG to US Com to Europe to rebuild with some very, very strong salespeople who've come from the best companies. There's another more long-term thing. If we're right that America to Europe 18 months, the rest of this company only has to grow everything besides Europe, commercial 38% to get 30% growth in aggregate. The positive of US Gov is it's reliable, the sums are big, the quality of the revenue is very high. Biggest problem is barrier to entry, which we've clearly solved, and then re-barriers to entry, which we've solved or are solving, but that's going very well.
I think it's safe to say that Palantir are fully intertwined with the US government.
To get the integral to grow, you need these massive deals. We also have small deals, but de facto, we are on the biggest, most important parts of the US government, or our software is. But then the question is, if the baseline is 30, how does it get to where we want it, which was like the beginning of last year and not at the end of last year? And the way that happens is the deals we're already positioned to win actually close. There's stock-based comp and there's dilution. The dilution thing, that's a red herring. We're not issuing a lot of new shares. I think it's like in the $9 million range. And so it would be a little coy of me to say that's like no issue, move on. It's actually not the result of the DPO. It's the result of the fact that we were completely focused on building product. We had no earthly idea we were going to DPO.
So he's being a bit brutally honest there, that they had absolutely no idea, no freaking idea. Well, I don't believe that, but he does come up in the next bit about stock-based compensation, which is a huge FUD factor.
So then you get to stock-based comp. If you're smart enough to invest in Palantir, you're smart enough to figure out there's essentially There's the how are we comping people, and there will be a normalization that will get us into a range where you would see in a software company within the next 18 months, latest 2 years. Same reason we have no debt. Same reason we have $2.3 billion on our balance sheet. This is a company built for bad times. Bad times mean strong finances internally, and that means at some point you have to be GAAP profitable because we build products that are robust, that are built for danger, and then the finances internally are actually built for bad times. And bad times means you have free cash flow. The free cash flow turns into GAAP profit. That means the stock-based comp has to be one that's aligned with our investors. And growth only exists if you build a company that is where the technology is strong enough, the business fundamentals are strong enough that the free cash flow actually turns into GAAP profitability.
I mean, I do understand the basic essentials of any business is to be profitable and to make money. But in this case, in Palantir's case, I really think making money is the last thing that they should be focused on right now, considering what's at stake, which is global takeover.
So, and we're going to build both modules that are reflective of Foundry, but also new ones in areas that we understand and quite frankly, we know will be built in the near future, so that things we know are working, things that we suspect will work in the future, so that the nodes not only work separately, but can work together. So de facto, we believe the compute of tomorrow won't be just compute. It will be productized compute. And that's what we're actually working on in rebuilding Foundry. When we're working on very, very large deals where companies are like, look, we want to transform what we're doing or take what we're doing and export it to every company in our industry tomorrow. De facto, that's a Foundry use case, and I don't think there's anything else that does that. And so now we're going to give them something they want and then also build an ecosystem around it, so it's what I think people will want going forward. And so people can stop just buying pure compute. They can buy valuable compute. No company of our pedigree gets people coming back. And the reason they're coming back is because this is just fucking cool. It's like, you do this, you change the world.
Now do you see the bigger picture that Alex Karp is aiming and striving and has his vision set for?
One of the things we failed at, honestly, is capturing the value of what we've done. Most of the products you would see on a map in an industry, any company, they're delivering things we built 7 years ago. We failed in capturing the value of that. We're not going to fail again. What I can tell you is, like, of the very big deals we're working on now, they're almost all this.
Can we expect some fireworks pretty soon with some big deals?
The thing that's really changed is, for once, it's not me fighting my way into the person's office and then throwing me out. It's them calling and saying, no, we know this can work. The pilot phases now are like days, and we're working on 2 or 3 of these now. You know, what makes Palantir Foundry valuable is that it's not really industry dependent.
This is one big reason why I'm so bullish on Palantir, because they transcend sectors and markets.
Now it is much more standard businesses of all kind. Really, the who's who of American business, from like, you know, people building tractors to building cars to oil and gas to distribution. And there's no one kind of company. One of the places, though, we're actually very strong in Europe is Switzerland. And there you have, like, a lot of the pharmaceuticals, insurance companies, banks that can't be mentioned using our products. And I think they use it honestly because it's like there's a Swiss quality to Palantir. It's like a very high quality product. We deliver it. It will work. You're not going to get the charming slap on the back or the steak dinner, and your software is going to fucking work. What we are going to show is net dollar retention in the U.S., and over time we're going to show how this expands outside the U.S. And that I think what you'll begin to see is that this strength in the U.S. will go outside the U.S. and will make our business very, very robust. It's really tough times out there, really tough for a lot of businesses. It's a lot of things are going wrong in the world, in our world. The obvious danger, the lack of legitimacy of a lot of our institutions. And I can tell you while at Palantir, we are very, very focused on our business and bad times are very super motivational for us. And when we get to good times, we'll be even stronger. And you know, we're a little bit of a like wacky group of guerrilla warfighters, but we're very much in fighting mode. And not just for us and the West, but also for our shareholders. And
well, that to me was an awesome earnings call that not only paints the future of where the company is going, but it also gives you the philosophical thinking and visionary leadership that Alex Karp possesses. So thanks for watching, and I hope you found this insightful. One thing is certain: Palantir at its current stock price, to me, is hugely, grossly undervalued. So please take this video with precaution and always do your own DD. Please consider, if you haven't already, subscribing to this channel, and we'll simply see you in the next video.